Chapter 4 and Song 4 Summary. Philosophy asserts that not only do the wicked have no power, but also that the accomplishment of wicked people's desires adds to their misery. Further, their wrongdoing is often limited by their sudden destruction. What follows from these truths is that wicked people who are punished are happier than if they were not punished. For it is just, and therefore good for the wicked to be punished, who then experience something good. To know and love this truth is to be rewarded within one's self, and to hate it is to be punished within one's self. But tragically, the majority of mankind rejects this truth. A further truth is that those who inflict justice on others are unhappier than those so afflicted, for those who act wickedly are wretched, and so worse off than those they afflict. Thus, they are worthy of the pity of the wise, not hatred. Chapter 4. Then I told her, "This is indeed true. I see that it is right to say that wicked people, though they remain human outwardly, are transformed into animals with respect to their souls. But I wish their cruel and polluted minds were not permitted to vent their rage by destroying good people." "They are not permitted to do so," she countered, "as I will show in the right place. Yet if that freedom you say they have were taken away, the punishment of the wicked would be greatly reduced. For in truth, incredible as it may seem to some, the bad must be more unfortunate when they have accomplished their desires than if they cannot fulfill them. If desiring something evil causes misery, to have been able to accomplish something evil causes worse misery, for without the power to accomplish their wretched desire, it would not be fulfilled. Accordingly, someone who has both the desire and ability to perform evil, and who successfully accomplishes it, must suffer a tripled misery, since each one of these states has its own degree of wretchedness." "Yes," I admitted. "Yet I earnestly wish they would be speedily rescued from this misfortune by losing the ability to accomplish wickedness." "They will be rescued," she contended, "sooner than you may want, or than they themselves think likely. For, within the narrow boundaries of our brief life, nothing comes so late that anyone, least of all an immortal spirit, should think they have to wait a long time for it. Their great expectations, the ambitious goals of their wickedness, are often overthrown by a sudden and unlooked-for ending, and this limits their misery. For if wickedness makes people wretched, he is necessarily more wretched who is wicked for a longer time. And if death did not put an end to the evil actions of the wicked, I would think no one more miserable than they. Indeed, if we have formed true conclusions about the misfortune wickedness brings, a wretchedness that is doomed to be eternal is plainly infinite." Then I said, "That is an astonishing conclusion, and difficult to accept. But I see that it completely agrees with our previous conclusions." "Yes, it does," she agreed. "But if anyone struggles to accept the conclusion, he ought, in fairness, either to prove the premises false, or to show that when you combine the propositions, you do not make the conclusion necessary. Otherwise, if he grants the premises, he cannot question the inference of the conclusion. And here is another statement that seems no less astonishing, but based on our premises, is equally necessary." "What is that?" "The wicked are happier when punished than if no penalty of justice troubled them. And I am not talking about what anyone might say, that bad character is corrected by punishment, and is guided into the right path by the terror of punishment, or else serves as an example to warn others to avoid doing wrong. But I believe that in another way the wicked are more unfortunate when they go unpunished, even if we do not consider how punishment gives correction and deters others from wrongdoing." "Why, what other way is there?" I wondered. Then she asked, "Haven't we agreed that the good are happy and the evil miserable?" "Yes," I replied. "Now," she argued, "if an afflicted person receives some good thing along with his misery, is he not happier than one whose misery is completely undiluted by anything good? It would seem so. But if some further evil is added to one so miserable and destitute of all good, beside what has made him miserable already, would you not call him far unhappier than he whose misfortune is eased when he experiences something good? It could hardly be otherwise. Surely, then, the wicked, when they are punished, have something good added to them, the punishment that the law of justice calls good. And likewise, when they escape punishment, a new evil adheres to them in that very freedom from punishment that you have rightly acknowledged to be an evil in the case of the unrighteous. I cannot deny it. Then the wicked are far more unhappy when indulged with an unjust freedom from punishment than when receiving their just penalty. Now, obviously, it is just for the wicked to be punished and unjust for them to escape unpunished. Who would try to deny it? This, too, no one can possibly deny. Everything just is good, and, conversely, everything unjust is bad. Then I answered, these inferences do indeed follow from what we just concluded. But tell me, do you not take the punishment of the soul after the death of the body into account? No, she said, those penalties are indeed great. Some of them inflicted, I imagine, in severe vengeance, others in merciful purification. But I do not plan to discuss that. So far, I have aimed to make you recognize that the power of the bad, so deeply shocking to you, is not power at all. I have tried to make you see that those whose freedom from punishment you complained about never avoid the proper penalties of their unrighteousness. I have spent time teaching you that the freedom you prayed might soon end is not long-lasting, that it would be unhappier if it lasted longer, most unhappy of all if it lasted forever, and that the unrighteous are more miserable if unjustly released without punishment than if justly punished. If all this is true, then the wicked are afflicted with harsher penalties just when people think they're escaping punishment. Then I confessed, while I am following your reasoning, I am deeply impressed by its truth, but if I turn to people's common convictions, I find few who will even listen to such arguments, let alone call them believable. True, she agreed. Their eyes are so accustomed to darkness that they cannot stand the light of clear truth. They resemble those birds who can see at night but are blind by day, for while they focus on their feelings instead of the order of the universe, they think that the freedom to commit crime and escape punishment is fortunate. But note the decree of eternal law. If you have shaped your soul after the likeness of better things, you do not need a judge to award the prize, for you have raised yourself in the scale of excellence by your own action. If you have perverted your affections to love lower things, do not look for someone else to punish you, for your own act has degraded you and thrust you down. Even so, if you look at the filth of earth, and then at the heavens, and back again, even though everything outside you stands still, by the mere laws of sight you seem now sunk in the mud, now soaring among the stars. But the common herd does not pay any attention to these things. So, what should we do? Should we join those whom we have shown to be like mere animals? Why, suppose that one who had gone completely blind should also forget that he was ever able to see, and should imagine that in himself a perfect human being was displayed. Would we who can see agree with him? But the man on the street will not even agree that those who do wrong are more miserable than those who suffer wrong, though the proof of this rests on grounds of reason just as strong. Let me hear your reasons for this, I asked. Would you deny that every wicked person deserves punishment? I certainly would not. And is it clear in many ways that those who are wicked are unhappy? Yes, I replied. Then you do not doubt the misery of those who deserve punishment? No, not at all, I agreed. So then, if you were a judge running a trial, whom would you punish? The one who had done the wrong, or the one who had suffered it? Without doubt, I would make the one who did wrong compensate the one he harmed. Then, the injurer would seem more miserable than the one he injured? Yes, that follows logically. So, for this and other reasons resting on the same ground, since bad behavior of its own nature makes people miserable, clearly an unjust action makes the perpetrator, not the victim, miserable. And yet, she pointed out, courts of justice assume the exact opposite, for advocates try to make judges pity those who have endured a serious and cruel injustice. But it is the criminal who should be pitied, who should be accused before a judge in a spirit of compassion and kindness, not anger. He should be carried like a sick man to a doctor who can cut away the cancerous tumor of his fault by punishing him. But then the business of lawyers would either dry up completely, or, if people wanted it to serve humanity, would restrict it to the practice of prosecution. The wicked themselves also, if through some tiny crack they were permitted to glimpse the virtue they had forsaken, so that they saw that by experiencing the bitterness of punishment they would wash themselves of the stain of their wicked deeds and win instead the reward of righteousness, they would no longer count those sufferings painful. They would refuse the help of defense lawyers and would commit themselves wholly into the hands of their accusers and judges. Therefore, hatred has no place in the hearts of the wise. Only the greatest fool would hate the good, and it is illogical to hate the bad. For if a propensity to vice is like a disease of the soul, just as we do not hate the sick in body, but rather pity them, how much more should we pity those whose minds are assaulted by wickedness, which is more appalling than any sickness? Song 4. The Unreasonableness of Hatred. Why all this furious strife? Oh, why with suicidal hand provoke death's destined day? If death you seek, then death draws nigh. On chariot swift she rides, and never will delay. The wild beasts vent on man their rage, yet 'gainst their brothers' lives men swing the murderous steel. Unjust and cruel wars they wage, and haste with slashing sword the death to meet or deal. No right nor reason can they show. They fight because their lands and laws are not the same. Would you give each his due, then know your love the good must have, the bad your pity claim.